Sony is run by people who would drown if it rained, and they still have no competition because Microsoft is the 8-year champion of slamming your dick in the car door. Basically, what we're talking about here is an entire industry, console gaming, with a duopoly and a fan base who has no interest in breaking that duopoly. And then right next door, PC gaming, which is in all ways significantly better. And you wonder why this comparison becomes apparent and salient, especially from PC. I was like, the whole PC gaming master race thing, you might think, oh, that's a silly meme from 10 years ago. No, it's 100% true, and I will always repost, or I will always support the PC master race memes. Because someone posted the one that was from the recent the Helldivers thing. It wasn't directly related to it, but it was obviously about it. It really is true. I will say this much: it is in all ways better.
Yeah, I will say this much: Microsoft really hasn't been fighting the console war because it's been making so much money in the PC market. Because they have basically opened themselves up to be like,
Microsoft's done some really good stuff in the last few years, but not like specifically with console, where they have abandoned it slightly. It's got really good. Like they bankrolled all the Spyro and Crash remakes.
Yeah, they're basically expanding their library, where it's basically okay. Everything that we release on our console, we will try our best to release on PC as well.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
And like full disclosure, I've got an Xbox One. I've got an Xbox Series whatever. I don't have a Series S. I don't have the current one. I've got the one before that, whatever that was. I've got it, but I don't use it. The only time I used it once in like 3 years, and that was like a couple of weekends ago. So yeah, like if I have to choose between Sony and Microsoft, yeah, I'll probably choose Microsoft, but why would I? I have PC. Yeah. I have Steam. I have GOG. I've got my individual old jewel cases filled with CDs over there. Like I don't need that. But yeah. Yeah, I don't understand why people are, as I said earlier, why people have the smell of shoe polish on their breath so strongly right now, because it's just like, yeah, I have that one in Cringe Collection, and it's like, wait, again, it's this thing, Uzalu, where inherently, either intentionally or unintentionally, people, whether they're in denial or whether they're like doing it on purpose, they will accuse you of what they are doing. It's like, you're licking the boot. It's like, what? Look, you see all those options there, and they're all optional. And like GOG and Steam are on there as part of the boot. That Meat Bun posted, by the way. It's like, are you serious? You haven't just licked the PlayStation boot, you've used it as a suppository, my dude. Like, what the hell are you thinking? Are you serious? And also, go ahead and ask the average PC gamer about Epic. See what they have to say about that. The overwhelming majority of the people don't consider a game to be out on PC until it is off of Epic exclusivity.
So, the problem with this one wasn't that you had to have an account when you signed up. As I said before, I want to go over the whole thing again, but the problem was the region differences and the fact that it was put onto you after you already bought and have been playing for months the game. If it was just a requirement from the start, and if it was accessible worldwide, with good service, I don't think people would have a problem with that. So that's not the issue, simply requiring an additional account. Because loads of games and other services require an account of their own, even if you already have a different account. Like, okay, you sign into your Microsoft account on Windows, which, by the way, you don't have to do that on Windows 10. But say you sign into your Microsoft account to use the OS. But then you have to go onto a website and sign into their account as well. Why can't you just... No one's saying that. Having an account for a service makes sense. You don't need it for every game, but some games, especially online ones, yeah, that's kind of normal. But having it thrust upon you and having it only accessible in some places of the world, but mandatory, that is why they rebelled. So that's the difference here. That's what's wrong with this meme. But I will go further, because I am one of the fairly few, I think, who would still strongly describe Steam as DRM. Now, many will agree with that, but I will say no, not just technically. I don't want Steam. If I could get away with not having Steam, I would not have Steam. I do not find it useful. I do not find it pleasant to have. I find it annoying and obnoxious and awkward. I would rather manage the games myself. That's not the reality of the industry, and Steam is the best DRM out there, probably. But still, it's DRM, and I would prefer not to have it.
I understand.
It could be a much worse.
I understand, but I also know the real reason why you don't like Steam. You're still jealous, aren't you?
Of what?
You're still mad. You're still mad.
Oh. I hadn't even thought that, actually. But yeah, that is kind of annoying as well. That is kind of annoying as well.
Sure, Uzalu. Sure.
That's not a factor in what I said. However, it is also a problem.
Yeah.
That they vac banned me for nothing,
Yeah.
and have never unvac banned.
Yeah.
So
no,
yeah,
that is obviously an issue.
Yeah. So I'm boycotting the things they vac banned me from.
No, I understand,
Yeah.
and that's fine. I for one, like, I wouldn't have gotten into some of the games that I am a very big fan of. I wouldn't have gotten into the community surrounding the games that I'm a big fan of, like RimWorld, as I mentioned earlier, without Steam. So I appreciate Steam, and also I know a few of the people who work on Steam at Valve, and they are very good people. But that's my personal bias.
I think though,
I mean, GOG is a thing.
Yes, GOG is good. If there's it was last time I used it. I don't know if it still is, but
it's still good.
Good. If there's anyone, thank you, Meatbomb, for finding it. If there's anyone in chat who would argue that Steam is not DRM, speak up now. You're wrong. It is DRM. Like, just let me know if you think so, because that's something we should all be able to agree on. That it's not like it's not just like it gets out of it because Gabe is based and because, as Wes said, there's good community stuff on there and there's fun features and it's not a bad DRM. No, it's still DRM, and it still has a lot of the features of the cons that come with DRM. But as long as you agree that it's DRM, then I can understand that yes, there are pros in at least some circumstances.
Meatbun found the PC Master.
He did. I'll show it. Yeah, it is a very good game.
Yeah.
Sony says bend over. PC Master Race says no. Slaps him in the face because obviously you say no. And then PS4 and Xbox bent over, filthy because they're console peasants being bucked by Sony. Say, what an ungrateful asshole. Stop being so entitled.
Yep. And the same shit. I mean, we had someone in the YouTube chat literally sucking the boot, deep-throating it the entire time we were talking about that. It's like, Jesus Christ. That was crazy. Like, it honestly was great. And also the fact that he was named Ian just made it was even a little bit of schadenfreude for me. But yeah.
But what struck me about this meme is just, this is 100% accurate for this circumstance. I can't think of any counterpoint to extrapolate or to extirpate this from the truth.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing. The fact that we were able to do that as a group of individuals voluntarily getting together and collectively saying no, that's why they want you to sign on to their TOSs. That's why they want you to sign into their platforms. That's why they want you off of platforms like Steam that allow you to give user reviews. How would we have done that? How would we have been able to make our voices heard when it comes to the Helldivers thing without the Steam reviews at first?
This is the power of free expression. That's what it takes. That's the baseline of this. Is free expression. Of course, as Wes said, you need the platform as well, but that's providing a platform to speak on is part of free expression. But that's the power of it. Through just free expression, this policy was reversed in 48 hours. Yeah, it looks like everyone is in agreement that it is DRM. At least we can agree that far. I would prefer it be more like GOG, where you don't have to use Steam to run your games. But as I said, it's the best DRM I know of, at least the best big DRM. Jack says Steam is absolutely DRM. The only reason we put up with it is because Valve aren't total SJW pricks yet. It's not perfect, but they're a lot better than most corporations.
And also, again, to defend Steam, like, look, no corporation is perfect. Much like Microsoft, no corporation is perfect. Some are, but the good far outweighs the bad, especially with Steam. Like, especially with Steam. Like, it's like 10 to 20% bad with Steam, and it's like 80% good. I like
go on.
No, like the play together stuff alone. That's a great system to have, and it's free. You know, the only thing you have to do is buy the game, and you could basically have offline multiplayer online. That's a great feature, and it's free, and it's an oftentimes overlooked feature. But like, bro, if you want to play the original Star Wars Battlefront 1 or 2, you can use Play Together and just play it. It's great.
Is it like Hamachi?
Have you never used the Play Together system?
No.
Oh yeah, it's not unlike it, but yeah, where basically you can connect your two. I don't know the technicalities of it, Uzalu. You know me. I barely know how to turn on my computer. But like, yeah, basically if there's a multiplayer game, you could do Play Together, and then you can play the multiplayer or co-op aspects of it, the offline, the couch co-op stuff of it online.
So I assume that if it has local area network, then you can pretend to be on a local area network with someone online, and that's built into Steam for free. Because that...
I think so.
Yeah, that's what a VPN does. That's what Hamachi does. Yeah, that's a good feature. For years, we used third-party software. If Steam is doing it, great. Good for them. Fine. And like, I want to clarify what I mean about Steam. Steam is also a social network. That's fine. No problem with that whatsoever. Steam is also a games retailer. I don't really have a problem with that either. Almost none at all. Steam provides that service. I don't have a problem with that at all. The problem I have is the mandatory integration of actually playing the games, the technical requirement of having Steam, the DRM part of it. And moreover, that thing you just mentioned was it probably only works for Steam games. Now, I'm not sure of that. Maybe you could add a game and you could like hook it up and like a custom game, but probably Steam has to mess with it first. Hamachi or VPNs work without it. So that's still an advantage. You know, Steam adds that feature, but it's in order to funnel you into their store and into their DRM, which is perfectly normal. If the whole market was filled with companies doing stuff like that, that'd be absolutely fine. It's that standard market behavior. But it's still something I would prefer didn't have to happen, or wasn't as bad, wasn't as restrictive, wasn't as much of a DRM. That's
I would say support GOG. Yeah, and I do. If I have a choice of buying a game on Steam or on GOG, I usually buy it on both. But if I only choose one, I usually choose GOG. But I've got over 1,000 games on Steam now. I have reached the 1,000 club a couple months ago. I don't know if you remember that, but yeah, I am that sad. No, but like there is. I will because like the thing is, it's like I wish there was competitors, and it's like, yeah, people with that mentality were the first ones to embrace Epic. That's the other side of it. You know, where it's like, oh yes, Epic. That's Epic is the alternative to because I remember when Epic first came out and it was like, yeah, oh, you guys are just jealous because Epic is a healthy. It's like, no, it's not. It's even worse. It's so much worse. Epic is so much worse. It's like, guys, if you want an alternative to Steam, there's GOG, Good Old Games. GOG Galaxy, which is the platform that you can install and uninstall games on if you don't want to do it through the web browser.
Which I'm pretty sure is not DRM. It just makes it easy to install.
It's complete 100% DRM free. All games on GOG are DRM free. I think now they have an option where some games, if it does require the third-party DRM, it will let you know. But as far as I know, all games on GOG are DRM free.
Yeah.
But yeah, then they are all first-party DRM free, meaning there's no DRM concerning GOG's side of it. So there is that.
There's another thing here as well, chat. Given that I'm on Linux as my main PC, you may be thinking, well, Uzalu, what about Proton? Steam provides Proton, and it's a compatibility layer that makes Windows games run on Steam. It's actually really good. It makes loads and loads of games that you would usually only want on Windows run on Linux. And in some cases, actually more stable on Linux than they are on Windows using Proton. It's really good. But they could just release it so that you could use it for anything. It doesn't have to be part of Steam. They could just make it an open source piece of software, provide it with Steam, but also provide it as its own standalone package. But no, you have to run it through Steam. You can run any application through it. I could run a Windows installer or a Windows executable through Proton, and it's likely to mostly work on Linux, even if Steam is not even aware of it. That's how good the software is. But I have to run it through Steam. I can't run it independently, as far as I know. There's Wine, but that's just less good than Proton, and it's the same technology. Proton's just a more advanced version of Wine. So that's what I mean. Steam does really good stuff, but it's all based on this sort of core of this DRM, and that's the part I don't like. Almost everything else I like. They're really good. Steam Deck, massively underpriced for what it is. Really good piece of hardware. But it's still all founded around that central core of DRM, and that's what I don't like. But yeah.
See, I have always felt that Steam was founded around the concept of making games easily accessible to as many people as possible in order to circumvent piracy, because that is what Gabe said was the purpose of Steam. That was the point of Steam, was to make games easily accessible so that you don't have to deal with all of this ridiculous because I don't know if you remember in the 90s and 2000s, all of the ridiculous anti-piracy crap that was in games. And it was a hindrance because it was like, oh, look in the manual to find the key code for this part of the game. And if you can't go farther, like stuff like that. And, having the radio frequency of the thing you need to figure out on the back of the jewel case, stuff like that.
Yeah. There's I doubt that was the reason. I expect that was a post hoc nice way of putting it. I expect that the way Steam works, making it convenient to get the games, is a way to stop piracy, but it wasn't created for that purpose. And everything Steam does is to funnel people towards its store, and the store games are only runnable via the DRM. That's what I mean. So regardless what the marketing motivation might be, that is the business motivation. That is the on the ground motivation.
It might be a matter of semantics, but Gabe didn't need money even back then. The creators of the guys who ran Valve did not need money back then. They were good. Like the amount, like they were one of the biggest successes in gaming history at the time. They didn't need to do that. They didn't need to make that. They because again, Gabe said piracy is not a stealing problem. It's an accessibility problem, and that is where that is where Steam came from. That concept was the origin of Steam.
It may have been the origin of its competitiveness, or it may have been a major factor in why it succeeded, I think it is the right way to deal with piracy, but it's not their current reason for existing. It's not their current business model. It's not the reason it exists today, or it's not the driving force. Gabe didn't come along and say, I will defeat piracy by making... No, even if that's part of what he intended. He created Steam to increase the benefits of the games he'd already made that were successful to take the industry further. He was just smart enough to build it in such a way that also defeated it. It's part of it. It's not the motivating force. But yes, I agree. That's in there.
And the creators of the creators of countless things, of course, they wanted to make money.
Indeed,
they wanted to be successful.
And I'm not criticizing that. As I said, if the whole market was
change.
that'd be okay.
Yeah, that doesn't change the fact that Steam is a massive, massive boon to the games, to gaming culture. If one
Could
can
be
fathom
a
such
lot
thing.
worse. And indeed, this brings me on to my next topic: that anything in any market environment I've seen, which is better than it should be. In my experience, if you look closely, you will usually find a strong leader. Now that sounds obvious.
Oh no.
But not quite that strong. But think about it. Jack says Steam is DRM, it's not, but it's not totally SJW pricks. Hasima says Steam is only good by Gabe's good grace. When he's gone, who knows what will happen. Now I do want to credit perhaps one could argue in opposition to what I was saying just now about it being very, very corporately driven. I do want to credit Steam's success and their ongoing better than you'd expect treatment of gamers to mostly Gabe and the inspiring presence he has and the direction he wants to take the company, and thus the people he employs, many of the other of whom may be good as well. But I do think it's due to a strong leader with a good vision, and that can be enough to hold something together on its own. You could even argue Cabal is an example of that, but you can have any number of expert middle managers to come together, but there isn't the intent to do the right thing for a long time, to do something effective and also ethically sound for a long time. Those three components are all difficult. You need someone with a quality vision and the ability to manage something, and that's quite rare, and that's why they're paid a lot. That's why CEOs make a lot of money. But that's what you need, and it doesn't even have to be the person who's leading it officially. It can be someone who is leading it in some other sense. For example, I'll bring this up because this is subjective, but I do believe this. The Witcher Netflix show was better than it should have been because of Henry Cavill. Because he was there, he seemed to care, and there's loads of stories from behind the scenes of him pushing the creative people in the right direction. And of course, I think he was great as the character. I think that's why it was better than expected. And once he was no longer in there, once he was kicked out, I have no interest in even trying it after that point, because I don't expect it will have kept any of the magic, and people are saying it even started disappearing after the first series. There are plenty of other examples as well that you could find, where something is good, and you find a strong, inspiring, ethical, sensible, competent leader in charge. And plenty of examples where something isn't good and you don't. Any other thoughts on that, chat? Because that's something I've been playing around with in my head. It sounds obvious, but I think it might be a good model for the future in this society we have with far too much middle management and nowhere near enough genuinely elitist, not just pretentiously elitist, but genuinely elitist, masculine, single leadership. Teddy says, Valve HQ is a flat hierarchy, hippy-dippy bullshit, bring your desk culture with your bosses just being the old fags who have no accountability because they aren't technically your boss. Teddy, if that's true, that probably wouldn't work for most companies, but maybe it works specifically because Gabe is involved and cares. From what I've heard, that probably is the case. In which case, maybe you could have any structure. Like, there's different ways that I could reorganize the upper echelons of Cabal that probably would work. Maybe not as well as this one, but it would be specifically because I would care and get involved and change things that didn't work as the result. If you just have a bunch of middle managers who are doing the bare minimum to not be fired by the shareholders, who only know as much as they're being told by the middle managers, which is not all companies by any means, but it's an example of a bad example, then you're going to have problems. You're going to have a total lack of vision and direction and cultivation from the person that really cares, from the person that has stake. There's nothing you can do to replicate the effect of one individual caring. No matter how many other people that you have, unless they all care, and even then, you could get too many cooks. No matter what size the structure is, I think it's almost always better to have one person who really cares leading it.
I could tell you abstractly, Uzalu, that anyone who has been inside Valve HQ has signed so many NDAs that they could not talk about what they see inside of it.
Fair enough.
But on the other hand, I do know some people who work at Valve, at Valve, who work for Steam, work on Steam. And they have, in Valve, hypothetically, they have ways of dealing with internal tests and internal ideological stuff. Like every once in a while, it may or may not pop up, but it usually gets swept under the rug and the problem is taken care of quickly. Because hypothetically, Valve has been around for 30 plus years now. Or 30, yeah, about 30 years now.
So that we can break out of these risky hypotheticals, Wes, for the benefit of your friend. Perhaps I can give a different example, which I think maps onto Valve pretty well.
Sure.
Read recently about Blizzard, and I can't remember who it was. Was it Morhaime who used to run it? Or maybe still does, actually? Where there was someone that worked at Blizzard, and they gave their account of what happened there, and something like came up with the manager just above them being obviously an asshole, and someone else on their team, it was just anti-meritocratic shit all over, and no one was doing anything about it. They contacted the manager above theirs, the manager above that, the manager above that. Nothing happened. They contacted the CEO. It was dealt with within 24 hours.
Well, it's
because sometimes it takes the one person, and sometimes it is just one person who genuinely cares to actually get involved. And that's why I think most online communities don't work, because the one person who genuinely cares is lazy or incompetent at running communities, because it is difficult, and just doesn't get involved enough. They want the community, they don't want to make the community.
I would say that there's a lot more than one person over at Valve that cares. I would speculate that they have structured the way that they do things at Valve in a very specific way that they do not want it public because of how effective it is. And while no system is perfect, there are some things that slip through the cracks, you could say. Those slips are usually dealt with very quickly. I would speculate based on publicly available information.
Yeah, good. As I said, my opposition to Valve or to Steam is just a part of it. Most of what the company does, I actually quite like. So yeah, if there's any corporation in gaming that I would put my weight behind to support, there's like a big one, I think it would be Valve. So
yes,
good.